Welcome back! Today I have an exciting lens test and review for you. We will be looking at the versatility of the Tamron 28-200mm f2.8 to 5.6 lens when paired with the Sony ZV-E10. I have already made some videos testing this lens on my A7 IV and ZV-E1, but how does this lens perform on an APS-C camera? Let's dive right in. The Tamron 28-200mm lens is originally designed for a full-frame camera, but when used on the ZV-E10, it effectively becomes 42-300mm lens, offering a wide focal range. It weighs approximately 576 grams, and on the ZV-E10, it may appear bulky. While it is not the lightest lens out there, considering the extended focal length range it offers, I believe the weight is acceptable and manageable for most shooting situations. Here are some sample photos shot with different focal length. No matter it's at the wider or the taily end, the quality is pretty good, and there is no noticeable vignetting. And now here are some photos shot with different apertures. f2.8 does look a tiny bit softer, but it is still sharp enough in my opinion. And you can see the round and smooth bokeh shape. Even though it doesn't have a fixed aperture, but as you zoom in, the background is compressed, so you can still get obvious background separation despite the smaller aperture. I love taking close-ups with this lens. At 28mm, it has a very short minimum focus distance. The distance between the front of the lens and the subject can be as close as 5 centimeters. As you zoom in, the minimum focus distance becomes longer, but since you are using a longer focal lens, you can still capture amazing details. Now let's look at some photos I took at the beach. With this lens, we can zoom in to capture stunning portraits of distant objects. I think it is super handy for street photography. Even though this lens is huge, as long as you stay far enough and zoom in, nobody is going to notice you, so you can still very discreet. However, there is one aspect to be aware of when shooting at longer focal lengths. Any slight shaking of your hands can be magnified and affect the sharpness of your photos. To solve this problem, I recommend using a very fast shutter speed, for example 1/320 or maybe 1/400. This way you can ensure your photos remain sharp. This does pose a challenge when shooting in low light environment, especially when you're zooming in significantly, because you can't use a large aperture like f2.8 at longer focal lengths. So when it is too dark, you will still need a prime lens in order to get good results. I'm really pleased with the video quality, and the autofocus performance has been impressive as well. It is important to note that this lens doesn't come with optical steady shot. You can choose to shoot with the active steady shot on the ZV-E10, or you can use softwares like Catalyst Browse to stabilize the footage in post-production. Personally, I prefer using active steady shot, and it works quite well at the wider end of the lens. You can also try stabilizing the footages in DaVinci Resolve or other editing softwares. It is usually a quick fix, so I don't consider the lack of stabilization to be a big issue. However, it is worth mentioning that when zoomed in to the telephoto end of the lens, you will definitely need a tripod to achieve smooth and stable footage. Even Catalyst Browse can't fix this kind of shaking. Again, this lens doesn't shine in the dark. In this kind of situations, you will probably need to stick to 28mm so that you can use f2.8. As I mentioned earlier, when used on the ZV-E10, the Tamron 28-200mm lens effectively becomes a 42-300mm lens in full frame term, meaning you will lose out on the wider focal length. While this lens excels as an all-rounder on full-frame cameras, it may not be the best choice for travel purposes with the ZV-E10. It is a relatively heavy lens, and if you are looking to capture landscapes or you need to take some establishing shot of the environment, you will probably need to bring an additional wide-angle lens. However, for street photography and portraits, I believe this lens is quite suitable. It allows you to capture fine details up close and achieve smooth bokeh for beautiful background blur. If you're considering buying the full-frame Tamron 28-200mm lens, you might also be interested in the Tamron 18-300mm f3.5 to 6.3 APS-C lens. Now, it is important to note that the 18-300 lens is slightly larger and heavier than the 28-200 lens, weighing about 40 grams more. But it offers an even broader focal range, which can be a game changer if you value maximum versatility in one single lens. On an APS-C body, 28-200mm equals 42-300 for full frame, while 18-300 equals 27-450mm for full frame. That is 50mm difference on the wider end and 150mm on the tail end, which are quite huge. Here is another important point to consider. The Tamron 18-300 lens comes with in-body stabilization, which can help solve the issue I mentioned earlier. With this feature, you can shoot at longer focal lengths without worrying about camera shake or blur. It's a great advantage to have, especially for those situations where stability is crucial. Now let's talk about pricing. At the time of making this video, there is only a $50 price gap between these two lenses. So in terms of cost, I don't think it should be the main concern when making your decision. To wrap it up, if you're looking for a versatile lens to accompany your Sony ZV-E10, the Tamron 28-200mm lens offers amazing performance in terms of image and video quality. However, due to its narrower field of view, it may not be the ideal all-rounder lens for the ZV-E10. Therefore, here is my suggestion. If you also own a full-frame camera, or if you plan to get one in the future, I would recommend the Tamron 28-200mm lens over the 18-300mm lens. It will provide exceptional performance on a full-frame camera while still being compatible with your APS-C Sony ZV-E10. On the other hand, if you intend to stick with the APS-C system and don't have plans to upgrade to full-frame, then the Tamron 18-300mm lens would be the more suitable choice, offering that extra focal range for versatility. Another scenario is that maybe you already have a wide-angle prime lens for your ZV-E10 and now you need one zoom lens for traveling. In this case, Tamron 28-200mm lens is also a good choice. I hope this helps you make an informed decision. I have also made some videos about using this lens on full-frame cameras, so check them out if you're interested. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.